We in there.
MVP.
Hits one in the air, left center field, back it goes! Harper, the swing of his life!
You never get ahead of yourself. As
I know Randy's do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that wrench do, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 79. Myself and Al Ryan. And Al, we are living on the edge tonight. If you are not in the Northeast or specifically the Philadelphia area, we are getting bludgeoned by a monster storm. And the Wi-Fi connections in Delaware County, not too strong, Al.
It's not holding up. Springfield's not holding up, but I'll tell you this. If I still lived in Havertown, I'd be about knee deep in water right now. So I gotta at least shout Springfield out for that because I'm not flooded right now.
We're dry on that end. So we're going to hang on to Al as long as we can tonight. We do have some contingency plans in place for you guys. So stay with us, as much as you can. Episode 79 tonight. Al, I was doing some research. Let me tell you this. If you were a budding athlete and you wanted to get your number, number 23, Michael Jordan, number 99, Wayne Gretzky, number 80, Jerry Rice, number 79 is available. There's nobody.
It's Brandon Brooks, right?
Brandon Brooks is who I got. It was Brandon Brooks or Todd Herremans. That's who we were down to.
So maybe if you're a budding football player in Pennsylvania or in the Philadelphia area, don't go with 79. Or you're gonna have to supplant Big Todd.
It was a rough stretch there. Couple of quick announcements. You guys probably heard most of this last week before we jump into segment 1 tonight. Follow us on social media. We're making a big push there. Again, Chris put up another epic rant based on the Eagles game this past weekend. Got a lot of praise. Make sure you're following us on social media, on Twitter at 3K Podcast, on Instagram at 3K_podcast, and on YouTube, 3 in the Keystone, all spelled out. You subscribe there. Everything pops up. It helps us in the long run. We're doing our best to entertain you guys. If you can help us out a little bit on the flip side, we appreciate that.
The audio, too. If you're listening to us on demand on audio, subscribe on audio. Hit that auto download button so it downloads the episodes every week. As Adam said, it helps us out. We can give back a little more to you guys with the more downloads we get.
And you see the handle scrolling on the bottom of your screen there. Also, we mentioned last week, our playoff fantasy football contest is up and running. Have already got a good amount of entries in, but we want to grow it even further. Quick summary, we have full rules available, but essentially, you're going to fill out a fantasy lineup: quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, kicker, defense. You can only use a player from a team once. So if you use Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you cannot use another Kansas City Chief in your lineup. Have as many entries as you like, $25 to get in. We'll have multiple winners as well. And in segment 3 tonight, we're going to draft the 3K podcast team. So we're going to give you a little inside scoop to the strategy of the team with or without Al.
Yeah, and so that means there's already $100 in the pot because you got the 3K team, you got my team, Adam's team, Chris's team, and rumor has it Chris is boycotting drafting any Eagles, Cowboys, or 49ers. So it's going to be a very interesting lineup.
Maybe Najee Harris in the backfield for Chris.
That's a guest running back, big bruiser.
Yeah, but no, listen, we already have a really good amount of entries, so the pot should be a nice size. So all you have to do to get involved is shoot us an email or a DM. We post it out on our socials, so feel free to reach out. If you have any of our numbers, you can text us as well.
Make it
all
easy.
Right, Al. Time to get into segment 1, my man.
Yep. Let's do it. Make it quick.
You know what the best thing about this week's Eagles game is?
Is that it's almost over?
Yeah, basically is what I was going to say is one of two things is going to happen. Either next week we get to sit here and talk about a win, or it's all over.
That's right.
There's no more having to do this.
That's right. Because we've had this conversation. This is Groundhog Day. We've had this conversation now 6 straight weeks.
The Eagles lose 27-10 to the Giants, trailed 24-0 at halftime. it can only be a true capstone of what was just a topsy-turvy season. Maybe not even topsy-turvy. It was pretty much a roller coaster where you rode it all the way to the top and then let it collapse all the way to the bottom.
It was the Tower of Terror.
The Tower of Terror is extremely good comparison to what happened. The Eagles finished the season at 11-6. And shout out to all you guys who bet the Eagles over win total, which was 11.5. You sat there at 10-1. Looking to cash your ticket. 10-1, 6 games left, 2 with the Giants, 1 with the Cardinals, and all you needed was 2 wins and a Seattle game in there.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
They win 1 game down the stretch to go under the win total, which is just crazy. They are now the 5 seed. They will draw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend. Add that to the insult of injury of how embarrassing that game was. The team loses A.J. Brown. They lose Reed Blankenship. They lose Cam Jurgens. Sidney Brown tears an ACL. Jalen Hurts has a dislocated finger. Some may be available. We haven't gotten the updated injury report as of this point, but it was truly a disaster fire in MetLife Stadium this past weekend. Al, we're going to go through this quickly, and we're going to get to the Tampa Bay preview, but just some feelings of what you saw this past weekend.
What you just said, a disaster fire. Did you mean dumpster fire? Because I saw disaster fire, dumpster fire, a sharknado, a shitnado. I saw all of it. Everything that I saw this past weekend just made me disgusted to be a fan of this football team. This team, as we've seen and as it's proven to us, has absolutely no heart, no guts, no pride. They do not want to play football anymore. And what makes it even worse is all of the stories that keep coming out. Players only meetings and we're behind the coach and this and that. Like, stop it. Stop it. You guys have tucked your tail between your legs. You've taken the ball and you went home about a month ago. So let's just wrap this thing up. I'm pissed that the NFL is making us wait 1 more or 2 more days. I wish they would have put it on Saturday on Peacock because I don't even have Peacock. So then maybe I wouldn't even be tempted to watch this crap anymore. So what was I seeing on Sunday? Garbage. That was what I watched. Garbage.
It was a terrible effort. And you're right, Al. The whole talk this week was they went to the escape room. They had team meetings. Everybody was bonded. And they came out, and the effort they gave was terrible. On the defensive end, these Giants were running free. There was no contesting. And again, this is not a high-powered Giants offense that we're talking about. This is Tyrod Taylor, Darius Slayton. And these guys were supposed to be phoning it in week 18. Let's leave and get out healthy. And it just wasn't that. I had one other thing I wanted to talk to you about. I really wish – this is where I wish Chris was on the podcast so I could get his opinion. But last year, we had a conversation about the Draymond Green-Jordan Poole incident where Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole before the season started, and Chris's point was, did you see the way his teammates rode for Jordan Poole when it happened? Nobody reacted. Nobody went to his aid, and that tells you enough about Jordan Poole. I think a play that didn't get enough attention was, if you remember when the Eagles played the Giants 2 weeks ago, Carl Banks on the Giants radio broadcast said if somebody tried to do the tush push when he was playing, he would jump over the line of scrimmage and hit the quarterback. And that is exactly what the Giants linebacker did the first time they lined up. He actually did a helmet-on-helmet hit on Jalen Hurts. Wasn't vicious by any means, but it was deliberate and it was intentional. And when that happened, there was no Eagles offensive lineman that did a thing about it. They stood there and they watched. And that was a little shocking to me because all the reports of Jalen Hurts going into the season were how good of a leader he is, how much of a team guy he is. But that spoke volumes to me. And I thought immediately of what Chris said about the Jordan Poole and Draymond Green thing because nobody rode for Jalen Hurts in that moment.
Yeah, props to Chris and props to you for noticing that because I forgot that Chris had said that, but that's a great comparison. But again, props to you because you had said all season long that Jalen Hurts' body language on the sideline, even when they were winning games, was off-putting. And you know what? Now looking back, yeah, it looks more like he doesn't want much to do with the guys and the guys don't want much to do with him than it does, oh, he's focused. He's in the zone. You know, he's like the pitcher that's going into the 7th inning with the no-hitter and nobody's talking. No, maybe it's just that he's an ass. Like maybe it's just that the same thing that ended up going awry with Carson Wentz, that it took us years for that to kind of fall apart and we started to see the cracks and the seams. And then it comes out later on, nobody liked him. Nobody, the whole act, the whole God act was wearing thin on the guys in the locker room. And maybe it's the same thing with Jalen Hurts. The whole, I'm so focused act just is wearing thin on these guys.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't want to believe that because he does seem like a good dude, as weird as he is. But the body language thing is weird. And at the end of the day, it is a hell of a lot easier to lead when your team is winning. Yeah. True leaders step to the front when the team is going through a struggle. And we haven't seen that from anybody on this team. A.J. Brown tried to take the lead this weekend, and I tweeted it, or this past week when he did his press conference, and I tweeted out the one thing that made zero sense to me is he goes, talking about the Seattle game in the last play, right? He says, that was on us. We were the ones who improvised that play, and we made it up. And Nick Sirianni took the fall in the press conference and said we were looking for a pass interference, and he had Nick's back because, Nick had his back in the press conference and the whole team had respect. But if you remember, right after that game, there was a lot of talk about him and AJ and Jalen just kind of doing their own thing. And his tweet was, this isn't buddy ball. We don't play buddy ball.
Right.
Well, you going in the huddle and saying, hey, yo, Jalen, I'm going deep. Hit me deep. That sounds like buddy ball to me.
That's exactly what that is. That's exactly what that is.
So there's just a lot of miscommunication. There's a lot of contradicting information coming out, and it's been ugly. But let's at least dive into the playoff game this week. Eagles draw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, with everything said, is probably the next. If we're the worst team in the playoffs at this point, they're the next worst team in the playoffs. Eagles did beat Tampa Bay in week 3, 25-11 on Monday Night Football. Certainly seems like a long time ago. DeAndre Swift had 130 yards in that game. A.J. Brown also had 9 catches for 130 games. Tampa Bay finished the year at 9-8. They've won 5 out of 6 coming in. But those 5 wins are Carolina twice, Atlanta, Jacksonville, and then they did have a nice win against the Packers. They're 23rd in offense and defense if you looked at yards allowed, but they're only 7th in the league as far as points allowed on the defensive end. So giving up a lot of yards, doing a lot of bending and not a lot of breaking, at least on that. And they're definitely better against the run. They're 29th in the league against the pass. As far as their offense goes, they're last in the league in rushing yards and middle of the road passing wise. They've only scored 22 points in the last 2 games. And Baker Mayfield's a little banged up, coming off a little bit of an ankle injury against Carolina where he stayed in the game. My question to you is, what's the road to victory look like in this game for you?
Well, I think for the Eagles, it has to be the defense. The defense has to show up. This is a defense, though, that's gotten carved up by Tyrod Taylor, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith. And if we even go back to the beginning of the season when they were playing well, still got carved up by Sam Howell twice, got carved up by Mac Jones. I said it 2 weeks ago when we started talking about playing these Cardinals teams and these Giants teams that are just ready to pack it up and go home. The Eagles have a target on their back. The city of Philadelphia has a target on its back because we're loud. We're outlandish. We're abrasive. People want to shut us up. And if you don't think a guy like Baker Mayfield wants to shut us up, you're wrong. So Tampa Bay is coming into this game, I think, with a renewed sense of energy because they know that they can catch Philadelphia right now at a time where we are tail spinning completely out of control and be the ones that just send us crashing to the ground and end our season. We've been in complete disarray. The coaching schemes are awful. So you know what? Honestly, maybe the key to victory isn't so much the defense or the offense. It's the coaching, because the coaching needs to stop dropping back our best pass rushers in defense to cover the pass. We don't need Hassan Reddick, and we don't need Josh Sweat out in the flat or in the middle of the field. We need them getting down to Baker Mayfield's throat. So I think maybe just letting the big dogs eat, forcing Mayfield into some turnovers, and getting the hell off the field as far as the defense is concerned. That's the key to victory. But Adam, fool me once. You know what they say. I'm not buying into that there's a key to victory. I think the cars broke down.
That was the name of one of our episodes a few weeks ago, Fool Me Once. To me, I'll take a little bit of a different road. I'm not going to pick the offense or the defense, but to me, is they have to get off to a good start. And I'm talking about not even the first quarter, the first half of the first quarter. If this defense is able to get a couple stops early in the game, this Tampa offense is not overly explosive, and they'll have the opportunity to build some momentum in that case. If Tampa Bay goes down and gets points on these first 2 drives, even if they're field goals, the air is going to fall out of the balloon and the balloon is going to be deflated, and you're going to be in for another one of these boring games where the Eagles go home with an L. It's crucial for them to get off to a good start. I wouldn't even mind them getting the ball first and trying to put some points on the board to start the game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If it starts out 10-0 Tampa Bay, forget it. Forget it. This team does not have the heart to come back, even in the first quarter or the first half, from a 10-point deficit. You might put live bet and put the mortgage on Tampa Bay money line at that point.
All right, listen, you asked a curious question, and I think it's a good one. You wanted to do percentage odds, add them up to 100%, so it's got to add up to 100%. There's 4 potential outcomes in this game. A Tampa Bay blowout, a Tampa Bay win that's close, a Eagles blowout, or an Eagles close win. So I was sure you gave a percentage odds. I have my percentage odds. I'm curious to hear where you sat with those 4 specific outcomes.
With those 4 specific outcomes, I think that if you have it shifted where the odds are in the Eagles' favor of a win, again, you just have not been watching football. It's that simple. Football, Eagles fan or anything, it does not matter. I have Eagles win at 19%.
Let's do so you do yours and then I'll do mine so that we can at least counter debate. So you have close win at 19%.
Yes.
Okay, I have close win at 25%. So we're in the same ballpark there.
Yep. Eagles blowout I have at 1%.
Wow, that's really, really low. You don't think there's any chance they can turn this thing around?
No. What have they shown you that shows you they can beat a team by 2 scores or more in a win that's convincing and going away? What's the script for that?
There's no proof this year because they really haven't done it at any point. But it would be a hell of a capstone to this story if they went out and blew them out. Chad Johnson thinks they're going to do it. You see him on Twitter. He says the Eagles are playing possum.
I did not see that.
My number's a little higher. I have 17% chance of a blowout. That's not that high at the end of the day. And when we say blowout, I'm thinking 2 touchdowns, right? We're not thinking anything more. I'm not talking about a 25-point win.
Yeah, I'm just talking about a comfy win. And
yeah.
Right.
So that puts my Eagles overall win percentage at 42% for the.
That's high. I have it at 20%.
Okay. So what do you have for blowout loss versus close loss?
So Tampa win, I have 50%.
Okay, I have 35.
Okay. Blowout win, I have 30% for Tampa.
I have 23. Like there's a very good chance it goes sideways.
Yeah, there's a clear path to Tampa Bay blowing out the Eagles on Monday night.
Okay. Let's actually so did you write down an actual prediction for your game?
My actual prediction, I did.
What's the score? What do you have?
Tampa wins and ends our misery 27-13. So I think it actually does end up being somewhat of a blowout.
I got the Birds. And I don't know why.
Good for you, because Chris isn't here.
Somebody had to do it, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm just not bought in on Tampa Bay. I think you look at a guy like Mike Evans, who is a tremendous wide receiver, but I think the Eagles cornerbacks match up better with the slower-footed big receivers than they do the CeeDee Lambs, the other quick twitch receivers. I'm trying to think of.
The Greg Dortches?
That's a valid point. But it's a playoff game. I don't know why I have the feeling. I have them 24-22. I have the Birds pulling it out, and then we're going to San Francisco to get stomped. And Ben's making some great points in the chat. Ben's going to join us for segment 2 tonight. That Al is Southwest, want to get away, and Adam is Fly Eagles Fly. Listen, I've been the most anti-Eagles guy all year. I don't think this Tampa team is anything to fear, and not that the Eagles are. I just think they got a shot, and I don't know why.
I just think right now, any team that plays the Eagles, it's like when you're playing a video game, you get a power up, you get a little boost. They got a little boost right now because, again, the blood is in the water with the Eagles. Everybody wants to be the ones. Dude, Nick Sirianni, all he does is run his mouth. And everybody wants to be the ones to beat us, I think, man. And I think Tampa Bay is going to do it. We got a bad history in the playoffs against Tampa Bay. You and I both know that. Every Eagles fan knows that.
That is very, very true. The Tampa Bay knocked us out 2 years ago.
Yeah. Close the vet.
All right. But speaking of Nick Sirianni, one final question before we wrap up segment 1. Let's say the Eagles go down this weekend, and you're Jeffrey Lurie, and you're walking down. What is your move moving forward if you are Jeffrey Lurie and how you're handling the offseason of this team?
If I'm Jeff, okay, what I'm doing, and not to be mistaken with Jeff Seltzer, if I'm Jeff Lurie, I'm holding individual meetings with the following 5 players. I'm taking Jalen Hurts for a meeting. I'm taking Jason Kelsey. I'm taking Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and I'm taking Darius Slay. I want one of the big names, the vets, the veteran leaders in the locker room to talk to me about what's going on. I want to know if they think Nick Sirianni can coach this team to a Super Bowl. I want to know if he has the trust of the players. I want to know if he has the respect of the players. I want a pulse of what's going on in the locker room. And I want it to be candid, and I want it to be something that they're not afraid to say. So that's why I want this to be individual meetings. And then I have a meeting with Nick Sirianni, and I ask him, what's your plan for maximizing Jalen Hurts' talent? Because we just signed him to a max deal. What's your plan for fixing this defense? What's your plan for the offensive and defensive coordinator positions? And if I am not 100% happy and convinced with the answers that I get from him or from the players, I'm cleaning house. If we lose Monday, I am cleaning house.
No, that's a great point. And actually, you stole some of the words from me, but let me go back in time because I don't mean to be I told you so kind of guy. But when the Eagles lost to San Francisco, which was their second loss of the season, I told you I was done. I told you I was jumping off the wagon. I didn't see it with this team. I didn't think they had a shot. I told you 3 or 4 weeks ago that I thought Nick Sirianni needed to go. That was before the momentum moved forward in regards to this. I told you the Jalen Hurts body language was an issue when they were winning football games. With that said, I think there's one huge question that sits there on Jeffrey Lurie's lap. Whose decision was it to take the defense from Sean Desai? Because not that Sean was doing a great job, because he wasn't. But if that came from Nick Sirianni, the defense has fallen apart even worse since Matt Patricia. And if you tried to make Sean Desai your fall guy, that did not work. And that is a poor example of leadership and a poor example of judgment on Nick Sirianni's guy if that was his call. Now, if that came from the top, then it becomes a little bit different on that end. But I think the point you made is perfect, is we hitched our wagons to Jalen Hurts last year. We gave him the monster contract. We have to make sure we're doing everything correctly in order to maximize his potential. We saw last year, there's a route for him to be a star quarterback, an MVP caliber quarterback, because he was that under Shane Steichen in that offense. So now how do we get him back to that? And if it's not Nick Sirianni, there are plenty of really good offensive coordinators out there, including Ben Johnson from the Lions. I'm drawing a blank on the guy from the Texans, his name. But even the guy that's on Baltimore now, I mean, they brought in a new OC this year. Look what he did for Lamar Jackson. Not that Lamar was a stiff by any means, but this is probably his best passing year that he's had. And if you're looking at a running quarterback, that's probably a guy you want to at least talk to if you're going to make a move.
Bobby Slowick.
Slowick.
Yeah.
And then, so for me, it's this. If they lose, I'm getting rid of Nick Sirianni. And that's because I see the writing on the wall. I don't think Nick Sirianni's anything other than a loudmouth. And I've said that last year when we were having him. I didn't think he was a great X's and O's guy. He's proven that this year. He's gotten exposed without his coordinators. And we're going to see moving forward, this is it. This is make or break for him in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, winning cures all, but remember how lame the Flowers speech was? Like, he's still that same guy. I'm with you.
Yeah, listen, he's been exposed, and I don't know. I wonder what's going on in his head, if he has any answers to what's going on in the locker room, because it certainly doesn't seem like it.
No, he looks like a scared pussycat, dude. He knows. He looks like a guy that just pushed all his chips to the center of the table, and he's sitting there with a bluff.
100%. So, listen, we will see this weekend. You got the Bucs. I'm taking the Birds plus the point, or to win by 2. I'm not comfortable with it at all, though.
No, I wouldn't bet on the Birds with your money right now, Adam.
100%. Anything else before we move into segment 2?
Go Birds.
But before we do jump into segment 2, I do want to let you guys know that the Free K Podcast is a proud partner of SeatGeek. Use the promo code 3Keystone for $20 off your first order. Football games, concerts, basketball games, comedy shows. SeatGeek has the tickets for everything. You go on there, it'll tell you if you're getting a good deal or not. Use the code 3Keystone, $20 off your first order. Al, you have any good games you want to give us an example for tonight?
Definitely don't have any Eagles games. So, no, I don't have anything. Maybe an Olivia Rodrigo concert or something in the spring.
A magic show. All right. Listen, we mentioned earlier we have a special guest coming on for segment 2 tonight. We have Ben Hollowell. Ben, welcome to the show. Ben is from the podcast Death, Taxes, and Sports. And let's rip the Band-Aid off right away, Ben. You're a Cowboys fan.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a follow-up? Is there a follow-up question?
Well, no,
Because you asked the question, are you a Cowboys fan? So I just said yes. What's the follow-up?
It was a yes or no question. That's all we were looking for.
Okay,
If our
the answer
third
is yes.
partner, Chris, who's our most passionate fan, knew we were having you on, he may have had an issue. May have quit the podcast tonight.
Well, I can take the shirt off and I can be a fan of any team you want me to be. No, I'm just kidding.
Now's the
I'm not
perfect
doing
time
that.
to be a Cowboys fan because we can't fight back.
Yep.
Today, Sunday and Monday, you might be able to. If we lose and you win, things can change like that.
Is that how the Cowboys fans are feeling?
That's 5 days from now where you're saying that I can talk crap to you. 5 days from now, you might be able to talk crap to me.
Yeah, you know when it's
I'm not making my pick. I'm just saying it can switch like that.
It can, but we are beaten down on the side of the road right now.
You guys are, I think, limping into the postseason would be being very kind.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd be more like you're getting dragged by someone who's 500 pounds bigger than you. That's about where I'd put it. Now, again, we haven't said picks yet, so I won't give my pick on Eagles Bucs unless you want me to. But I will say that just commenting on the two teams in general, not like just looking at the points, and I'm talking about points for, points against. The points for favors you guys by like 100 points almost, like 85. But points allowed, 428 for the Eagles, 325 for the Bucs. So defensively, by points and points only, because that's how you win. You can have 500 yards and I can have 100 yards, but if I scored more points, I won. By points specifically, there seems to be a mismatch on both sides. Your offense is significantly better. Their defense is significantly better.
Yeah. Well, their defense is led by one of Al's boys, Vita Vea, the true hog.
The hog.
Yeah, that's a big boy.
Love
That's a big boy.
Oh, yeah.
But what you said earlier, and I know we'll jump to the next. I'll say this one last thing on Baker Mayfield. He loves these moments. You've seen him in college with the flag. You see when he just got to the Rams last year, 3 days before, and he leads them to a Monday Night Football win. Like, if there's a quarterback that like you had to pick that like isn't great and probably maybe not even good, maybe just like above average, but an above average quarterback that you want for a Monday night game, he would be the guy.
Yeah, Baker's
like if you're just listing like, you know, whatever, if we make a list of 10 above average quarterbacks over the last 50 years, I'm saying you'd want Baker for that game over all of them.
So I think you're tipping your hand at your prediction, I would say. So
no. I didn't say who's going to win. No.
You're a Dallas fan, so who do you have? Birds and Bucks. Who do you got?
I got the Bucks.
Yeah, tipped his hand. I knew he did. What do you got for the score?
I got it close, and I don't think that either team scores 30. I could see something like I'll go with 27-24. I'll go with a close one that it's just, I mean, you guys watch more Eagles than I do. That defense is horrible.
Fell apart.
And Byard and Shaq Leonard, they did absolutely nothing.
How much is Shaq Leonard kicking himself for not going to Dallas and going to Philly over Dallas?
Well, actually, I don't know. Would Dallas prefer to have him right now?
I don't know.
I don't know
Dallas prefer to have him, but if Shaq Leonard and I,
if you're Shaq Leonard, yes,
and he tells me to bet on red, I'm putting all my money on black.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he made the wrong decision.
Yes,
but I'm saying Dallas might be better off that he did make that decision.
100%.
I mean, I haven't watched enough Eagles to know A, how much he's playing, B, if he's playing well. I don't know, but I know that the points allowed has been bad since before he got there and since he got there. So he can't be making much of a difference. I don't know his snap percentage or any of that, but he can't be helping.
I'll tell you this: he's playing too much, and no, he's not doing well. But our linebacker situation is terrible. So
I mean, your biggest problem. And I know we want to jump, and whenever you guys want to go to the next topic, I'm good. But your biggest problem, well, yeah, I from an outsider, not watching every game, your pass rush is gone.
It's non-existent.
It's 70 sacks last year, and basically you lost Hargrave. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's all you lost.
Yep.
All the other pass rushers, the edge rushers, the D tackles, everybody's the same. You're older, but they're the same exact people. So it seems like 3 or 4 of your older guys had a decline at the same time.
And
Well, not only that, but they were getting to the quarterback earlier this year. It wasn't at the same rate that they were last year because, again, last year I think they had the most sacks in NFL history. They weren't going to duplicate that.
Right, of course. Yeah. Just the drop-off has been like this.
Right. So it's been the older guys have fallen off as the season goes on, but also the rookies. Jalen Carter has obviously – he was a bulldozer in the beginning of the year, but he seems to just have hit a little bit of a rookie wall. And as the older guys have deteriorated as well, his snap count has gone up, and that's even exacerbated.
I was just going to ask you that because he was in the beginning or even midseason. I was like, why isn't he playing more?
Right. And
now you're saying he is playing more and he's playing worse.
Yeah,
that he's playing more.
He looks worn out, essentially. Which happens to rookies. It's not normal, or not normal.
But I'd almost be like, I mean, I don't know, but I'd almost be like, listen, these veterans, I don't care what you did last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We're rolling with the rookies and the second-year guys, and it's not going to be worse than what you're doing.
Yeah, no,
I would literally be like, I love you, but you're not playing today. And guess what? We're going to call up practice squad guy who's 22 years old, and if he does worse, doesn't matter. It's not going to matter.
You'd be like, Shawn Michaels before he super kicked Ric Flair. I'm sorry, I love you, and then just boom, Fletcher Cox under the jaw.
I'm not naming specific players. I'm just saying, what is the harm? If he hasn't played one snap in the regular season, that's too risky. But if somebody's played a little bit in the regular season, but I'm not even naming a position. Let's say it's a corner. Let's say it's a linebacker. As long as they've had game experience, like of at least, I don't know, let's say 50 snaps, let's say at minimum, I don't know. What's the harm in playing him on Monday night more snaps? It's not gonna be worse.
Right. The difference is the guy making those decisions to put those guys in is maybe coaching for his job. So I thought they should have done that last week on the podcast. I said for last week's game they should have put those guys in. And
see if it's worse. See if it's the same. See if it's better. Now, to your point, it's too late. Last game was the game to do it because ultimately, I've seen Dallas choke easy games many, many times. So could they have choked last week and then you guys have won the division? Yes, but the odds were not. That wasn't going to happen.
No.
So you could have played those guys to give them experience and see what happened. You can't do that now.
And we had to play on that joke of a turf in MetLife Stadium, which then ended up injuring A.J. Brown, Sidney Brown as well. And we had a couple other injuries that weren't turf related, but anytime you're on the field in football, there's a risk for injury. So
that field, whether it's turf fields as a whole, which I know the NFL has lots and lots of studies, or if it's just that specific field, that field is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Like literally, I'd be like, listen, you can take my $100,000 game check today. I'll play next week. Like literally, I'd be like, my contract is $5 million, or it's even if it's $300,000, you can take the $50,000 from this check. I'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, no doubt.
Literally, I swear, I probably would have that conversation. Be like, listen, find me all you want. Take away my game check. I'll play with you guys next week.
I want to get into for this segment. Let's get into some of the other wild card games. So we're going to preview the other 5 ones, and we're trying to keep them as quick as possible. But I'm going to start with the first game on Saturday. So
I was going to say you're going to go in order, right?
Yeah, except we're going to put Dallas last to save it for you. So we're going to skip Dallas until the end.
Gotcha.
But I got the Browns and the Texans. Now the Browns are 2.5-point road favorites. Totals 44.5. Just a little background: the Browns 11-6, despite starting 5 quarterbacks this year. What a job by Kevin Stefanski starting 5 quarterbacks this year for the Cleveland Browns. They have the number 1 defense in the league based on yards, and they've won 4 in a row prior to sitting all their starters this past Sunday. Houston, on the other hand, 10-7, win the AFC South as Jacksonville's gag almost as bad as the Eagles' gag. Per se, behind a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback. Trivia question for you guys before we get into it. Do you know the last rookie quarterback and rookie coach to make the playoffs together? I can give you a year if you don't know off the top of your head.
I was going to say, is it 2000 or later?
2012.
2012. 2000.
I got
Rookie and
nothing.
head coach. 2012. That's not that long ago. We should at least have a guess. 2012. RG3.
RG3 made the playoffs that year, but Mike Shanahan was the coach for a couple of years there. Who else? Who was the other quarterback in RG3's draft class?
Luck.
Kirk.
Luck.
Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck and Chuck Pagano.
And Pagano.
Yep.
Pagano. Yep. So, all right, not bad. At least I had to guess. Al, I don't know what you were doing.
Dude, it's a dark time for me.
All right. So, anyways, you want to talk this game? This first
So I'll lead in with my question to you guys. The two teams, they did play week 16 this year, but obviously the Texans did not have CJ Stroud, so we can wipe that off.
Mhm.
Let's start with this. Are you buying the Joe Flacco renaissance, or do you believe the rookie quarterback is ready to take the next step? We'll let Ben start as he's the guest tonight.
So Flacco's turnovers are a little concerning because the turnovers the defense is forcing and has been forcing when you're facing better competition, which is the playoffs, you're probably not going to force as many turnovers. So turnovers are a little bit concerning, but I put Flacco and Eli Manning in the same exact boat. If it's a regular season game that I need to win, they're not even in my top 50 of quarterbacks I want. But their playoff record, both Eli and Flacco, they're better than Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Not only QB record, like statistically, they're better than Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning. Like it's statistically, I know wins and losses is a team thing, but wins and losses, their record is significantly better than both Peyton and Rodgers, who are both only one game over 500 in the playoffs. So Flacco in the playoffs, that's a different animal, man. So I have a little bit more trust compared to what he's played in the regular season, which has been great. But the playoff switch, it's like he's a different animal. And it's playoff Flacco and playoff Eli is a thing.
All right. So we'll go to Al now, and then we'll come back for your prediction at the end, Ben.
So you hate to see these two teams match up because you kind of are rooting for both of them, right? Like, how can you root against Cleveland? How can you root team? Ben talked about the turnovers a little bit. I think it's interesting that CJ Stroud is a rookie quarterback who doesn't make mistakes. He's thrown 5 interceptions this season, but the Browns were tied for third in the NFL, forcing 18 interceptions. They also sacked the quarterback a lot, 6th in the league, 49 sacks. Flacco 4-1 this season as the Browns starter, but as Ben said, he's a completely different guy. He's Clark Kent and Superman when it comes to the playoffs. 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions in the playoffs. I think there's something about this Browns team, even though everybody likes to think right now that there's something magical about Houston and DeMeco Ryans and, but give me experience and father time. I think Houston will be back. I'm not sure if Flacco will, and he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very stereotypical of you to go against the Ohio State quarterback because you're just a hater. You guys hit on pretty much all of my points. The Houston defense has not been great this year. They're 23rd against the pass. They also just got gashed by Jonathan Taylor the other night. However, for me, this game is about turnovers, and Flacco's thrown 8 interceptions in his last 5 games. He's really just kind of chucking the ball down the field, and it's worked a little bit. But I'm curious to see now that Houston has seen him, whether or not they have a little bit more of a game plan for me. So I'll give the first prediction. I think CJ Stroud's a gamer. I've thought that since his days at Ohio State. I think they get the job done at home. I got Texans 28-24 over the Browns. Ben?
Yes, so real quick, and I will say this really, really quick. I just want to go Flacco, Eli, Rodgers playoffs. I'll go really, really fast. Really fast. Flacco, 10-5, 25 TDs, 10 picks. Eli, 8-4, touchdowns, 18, interceptions, 9. Rodgers, 11-10, although the TD interceptions is ridiculous, but 45 TDs, 13 interceptions. So his statistics are insane, but wins.
But he's had some dud games, especially against.
He has had definitely some dud games.
He had a dud coach too, Ben.
Yeah, he's kind of our Cowboys coach right now. Back to this game. I will say Houston because everyone is in on the Browns, and a lot of times the game goes the opposite of what everyone. So I'll go Houston in a close one.
I agree with that, Ben. A lot of times when everyone zigs, I like to zag as well. But this time, call me Ziggy Marley because I got Cleveland winning the game 23-17.
I like the low scoring. I
Yeah.
think first team to 24 wins, which is right what you just said. So 24-20, could see that. 23-20, something like that. I don't think either team sniffs 30 points.
And let me say this. We have a Stafford versus the Lions game that we're going to talk about soon. If the Browns win and we get Flacco versus Baltimore, that may even be better than that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. That because Flacco won in Baltimore.
Right.
Stafford won in LA. So it's flipped. So yes. Yep.
All right. The Saturday night game, Miami at Kansas City. Kansas City's a 3.5 point favorite, over under 43.5 on the cock. Peacock getting the exclusive rights for the game in case you're looking for it on TV Saturday night. Weather's going to be an issue for this one, gents. That Kansas City cold and wind is coming in. I believe the high for the day in Kansas City is going to be about 14 degrees. So at nighttime, you can expect it to be even colder.
Great. Yeah, I think that earlier in the week they said it was going to be 3 degrees at kickoff.
At kickoff. Yeah, and that KC cold is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins seem to have lost some momentum. They're pretty banged up. Mostert, Waddle, Xavier Howard all out. They lost Bradley Chubb to an ACL injury. Chiefs did beat the Dolphins.
And Phillips.
And Phillips.
Their two best pass rushers, Phillips and Chubb, gone.
Correct. Chiefs did beat the Dolphins 21-14 earlier this year in Germany. Let's go to Al first on this one.
Dude, this is a dirty game. Like I wish Cleveland was playing Miami and Houston was playing Kansas City or something along those lines, because I want both of those teams to win, and I want neither of these teams to win. Only because Miami's limping in. Kansas City's offense has been limping all year. As you said, Kansas City has the win over Miami, but they're 0-4 against the other 4 playoff teams they played this year. I feel like I should be excited for this game. I'm totally not. I'm completely satisfied that it's on Peacock because, again, like I said earlier, I don't have Peacock, and I'm not going to seek out my subscription just for this game. Maybe I'm worn out from just all the KC, like being good over the last few years and all the Kelsey and Taylor Swift talk, but I just don't think that this is a team that's on the same page offensively, just like, we talked about the parallels with our Eagles all season long. So I think this is going to be a really ugly game. Do you want me to give my game prediction, Adam?
Yeah, we'll do all of it at one shot.
So my game prediction, it's probably more of a hope than a prediction, if I'm being honest. I'm taking Miami to win. I'm taking them to win 26-20. But again, I think it's more of a hope because I'm just sick of Kansas City.
All right, Ben?
I was going to say, any Eagles fans going to pick Kansas City in any game for the rest of their lives? I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, we're not anti-Andy here. I think Andy's got some good vibes in Philly.
For this game specifically, it's just like whatever it was, week 16 when it was Cowboys and Miami. 2 teams, same resume, beat up on the nobodies, play people, fall flat on your face. Miami beat one good team all year. I don't know, last second field goal. 1. That's it. They play 17 games. They beat one quality opponent. I don't see how you can. How am I going to expect them to beat a quality opponent when over 17 games they only did it once?
Agreed.
So I got the Chiefs because of that defense and because Miami's health. I mean, let's be honest. When they're at 100%, they weren't beating the good teams. And now all of them stars out. Like, that's a big deal. Waddle, I would say, is definitely questionable. He'll probably play. I have a feeling that he might not last the entire game because that ankle injury is bad if he's missed 2 weeks in a row. And when they needed the game against Buffalo, he still missed that game. So that ankle injury is bad. Chubb is gone. Phillips is gone. Howard, I think they already said, is out. Offensive line's banged up. Tyreek is banged up. Like, I can't see it. I really can't. I got the Chiefs, and I'm not even going to make a score prediction because I just got the Chiefs because Miami has just proven to be frauds, in my opinion. Can't beat anybody. They barely beat us, and we can't beat anybody either. So
Fair enough. Listen, there's one thing that we didn't talk about. We had earlier this year, we had the Kansas City Chiefs guys on after the Eagles game or before the Eagles game to preview that. And we talked a little bit about the matchup here. Specifically, again, if anybody knows how to guard Tyreek Hill, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, as he's been there. And they said the one thing that they did in Germany was they got up on the line of scrimmage and they pressed those receivers and they made sure they knocked the timing off, because to his game is getting the ball out quick.
It's precision is timing. Yes,
It's
100%.
all timing.
If you mess up the timing, it's like he becomes below average.
And that's the kind of cornerbacks that Kansas City has. They have the personnel to do that. I also look at the QB arm strength. You know, I'm a Tua guy, even though he's let me down many times, but he doesn't have the arm strength to throw the ball in conditions like this compared to a Patrick Mahomes when it's cold and when it's windy and the ball has to cut through that wind.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. And I like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Adam, but the other thing that I would say is the press coverage is what you were alluding to. I don't understand why more teams don't do it.
Fear.
Not even to just Miami, just in general. Like, if you're going to get beat, right, if you think your corner is worse than the receiver, right, let's just say you feel that way, wouldn't you want to at least try and hit him in the beginning? And if he misses, then he gets beat. But if you don't bump and run, he's going to get beat anyways. I don't know. I'd rather take the risk and try and bump him out than, especially Tyreek. Like, he's a smaller dude.
Teams
Smaller dude. Like, you got to bump him. Like, I didn't watch like the Dallas Miami game in full, but like, I mean, most of it. But it was Christmas Eve, as you guys are probably aware. I would have had, if I was the DC, which I'm not, nor should I be, I would have had Bland or Gilmore hit him every single play. Every play at the line of scrimmage, you're feeling me. Every single play.
Send a message, make him not want to go out. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Especially for like a smaller receiver, I don't understand why. Like, if you're going to get beat, if you don't bump and run, what the hell is the difference if you get beat after you bump and run?
He's proven he could beat the other coverage. With that said, in the game against Germany, he did have 8 catches, but he only had 62 yards. So they did kind of keep him in check and underneath.
They limited his yak.
Yep. I got Kansas City 21-10. All right, let's move on to Sunday afternoon. We talked weather conditions. We got Pittsburgh and Buffalo in what's just going to be a game that Bills Mafia is going to love. The tailgates are going to be exceptional. Buffalo is 10-point favorites. The over-under is 35.5. We are talking about wind gusts potentially up to 50 miles an hour with snow as well. Bills were left for dead after the Eagles beat them in overtime, but they turned it on to go in to win the AFC East and steal the number 2 seed in the conference. Mason Rudolph on the Pittsburgh side has led the Steelers to 3 straight wins to get them in the playoffs at 10-7. However, no TJ Watt, who has a bad injury in the last game of the season. I think it was an MCL. Huge loss for the Pittsburgh defense. I'll lead the way on this one. I think both teams are going to have to run the football, obviously, given the conditions that are out there. Pittsburgh's run game is solid with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. They've both been good. But Buffalo has a little bit of an extra dimension because they have Josh Allen, who can also run the ball in addition to James Cook and Latavius Murray and that group. I also think they just have, even though Josh Allen turns the ball over, you mentioned Baker Mayfield being tough. Josh Allen is just tough. And he wants to make plays. He puts his body on the line. And I have a lot of love for that. I had Buffalo going to the Super Bowl in the preseason. I'm not going to turn on them now. I have them 17-10. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be a Pittsburgh-style game. You know, Pittsburgh is going to love these conditions just as much as Buffalo is with Mike Tomlin and crew. But the TJ Watt loss is monstrous for them. And he might be the defensive player of the year. No offense to the guy jersey you have on behind you. He's a monster. I think Buffalo's just got just enough to get through here. And so I got them 17-10 in a game which will have really, really bad conditions. Ben?
Yeah, so before I say my pick, I'm going to go to the point differential. Buffalo plus 140 and the Steelers negative 20. So there's literally 160-point difference over 17 games, which is probably 7 a game on average. So essentially Buffalo was 7 points better every single week than compared to the Steelers. And The points for is even more ridiculous, even though the Steelers have started to play better. Points scored, Buffalo 451, and points scored, Pittsburgh 304. Like I don't care. Like they're not going to be able to score enough. I got Buffalo.
All right, Al.
Yeah, I think that Buffalo. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They have a good enough defense. They're going to force Pittsburgh into mistakes, and they don't even have to. Pittsburgh's going to make mistakes on their own. They're not going to be able to move the football. And the other thing is, Buffalo knows they can't take any team lightly because of last year when they almost got upset by a Skylar Thompson-led Miami Dolphins team in the opening round. So they're not going to take this Pittsburgh team lightly, regardless of being 10-point favorites. They're going to be ready to play. I have them winning 24-16, but props to Mike Tomlin for getting this Pittsburgh team to the playoffs and with a winning record. That is absolutely ridiculous, dragging Pickett, Rudolph, Trubisky, National Dancer, and Prancer to the playoffs at under center.
Al, I looked back on our week 2 podcast when we did the overreactions, and we had Tuna on, who's a Pittsburgh fan. And he said that Pittsburgh was a contender for the number 1 overall pick if they got smashed by San Francisco week 1.
I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that ever since they made the playoffs. I mean, Mike Tomlin is just undoubtable as a great coach, man.
See, Tomlin, I just got to real quick. I'm going to go on a Tomlin tangent real quick. We have to give credit for him always being over 500 and, frankly, having teams that should be below 500. So we give him credit for that. But at the same time, you had prime AB, prime Ben, prime Bell, and you didn't make a Super Bowl. You didn't even make one Super Bowl with prime Antonio Brown, prime Le'Veon Bell, at the time, one of the best 3 receivers in the NFL, one of the best 3 running backs in the NFL, and Big Ben is a Hall of Famer. You had those 3 in their prime. You didn't make one Super Bowl.
So I'll give
both
you
things. Both things can be true at the same time. He's overachieved with lesser rosters, underachieved with the better rosters.
So I'll give you a quote. I heard this on a podcast. I wish I remember who said it, but they said Mike Tomlin will make a bad team good. He'll make a good team great, and he'll make a great team good. Like that.
That's it. I mean, that's exactly what I just said in different words.
Yep.
In shorter words.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we all got the Bills in this one.
Yep. Let's go to the afternoon game. Game that intrigues me the most, probably the one I'm most excited to watch on the slate. The Rams and the Lions. Lions 3.5-point favorites, 51.5 the total. Everybody's talking about Matt Stafford's homecoming in Detroit. It's also a Jared Goff revenge game. As you remember, they were traded basically for each other with some other draft competition along the line. Lions lose my boy Laporta this past weekend. A tough loss is, obviously Dan Campbell got criticized a little bit for playing his starters in that game. Lions 27th against the pass and 2nd against the run on the defensive side of the ball. The question is going to be, can the Rams get their running game going? Because if they do, that offense might be unstoppable. So that's going to be the key for me in this game. I don't trust Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell to me is like Nick Sirianni, but a better version in that he is a motivator. He knows how to get those guys pumped up. He actually is a little bit of an X's and O's guy compared to Sirianni, but I don't love his in-game decisions. And I mean that as far as some of the 4th downs he goes for, the 2-point conversions. The game against Dallas, we saw he went for 2 to win the game, which I was fine with. Then they get the penalty and get moved back to the 7-yard line.
Once you go back to the 7, you kick the field goal and you beat us in overtime because you outplayed us for 60 minutes.
Correct, 100%.
You go from the 7-yard line, you kick the thing, you go to overtime. If you get the ball first, you're going to win. Yeah, they outplayed us for 4 quarters.
There's no doubt. They're a very good football team. But to me, I look at Sean McVay. I love me some Sean McVay. I think he's a great coach. I think that may be the difference in this game. And the fact that the Lions lost Sam Laporta, I think it's a big loss. I got the Rams 34-27 in the upset. Al, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. And you know what? Comparing Sirianni to Dan Campbell is like a believable Sirianni because he can run his mouth because he's been on the field as a professional and he can beat your ass. He's a meathead. And sometimes that's I think what he lets himself get carried away with is the player starts to come back out in him when he should be letting the coach be the one make the decisions.
Yeah, gets in his own way. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. It's Jekyll and Hyde. It's the angel and the devil on the shoulder. You know what I mean? But Adam, I'm with you. Listen, LA 7-1 in their last 8. There's not many teams as hot as LA riding into the playoffs right now. They got to rest their starters in week 18. And I think a shootout versus the Rams in a dome was the worst possible draw for this Detroit team, who is 27th in pass yards allowed per game. Khalif Raymond, I know, is also questionable. He's Detroit's punt returner. He's the 6th best in the league as far as yards. My prediction, and I said this on an Instagram reel a couple weeks back, I think the Rams are kind of a dark horse candidate as a value pick for this to win it all, to win the Super Bowl. They have the experience. So I got the Rams winning this game as well, Adam. I have it 33-20.
And go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, I got the Rams as well, and I told people on my podcast and, fans that I know that I'm friends with from high school and all that jazz, said the Rams are winning their first round game. I don't care who it's against. And if it was against Dallas, I'd say the exact same thing, which is why with their backups against the 49ers backups, I was honestly happy that the Rams won, because I said it in – what are we in January? I said at the beginning of December or mid-December, the Rams are winning at least one playoff game, and I don't care who it's against. So I ain't going against that. I got the Rams. Kyron Williams, who's their running back, second-year guy, which, by the way, back-to-back drafts, Kyron Williams, 5th-round pick, Puka Nacua, 5th-round pick. So you can find pretty talented guys later in the draft. Kyron Williams is actually number 1 in the NFL in rushing yards per game over McCaffrey. And he had 12 touchdowns, which was tied for 6th in the NFL as well in rushing touchdowns in 12 games. So they should be able to run the ball even with that great Lions defense. And frankly, they probably won't need to. You got Puka, you got Kupp, you got Stafford, you got a good offensive line. Not great, but a good offensive line. Stafford's been protected for the most part pretty well. They've drafted well on the O-line and free agent-wise. Stafford's been getting good protection. You got Puka Nacua, you got Cooper Kupp, who won the Triple Crown 2 years ago. Cooper Kupp's still pretty freaking good. And Demarcus Robinson, who I think was on the Chiefs a couple of years ago, who's come out of nowhere and been an excellent third receiver. And then Tutu Atwell is now their 4th receiver, who on some teams would probably be – Tutu Atwell could probably be a 2 or a 3, and now he's their 4. So they're going to be able to sling it around and put up points. And I think Detroit will be able to put up points too. But I got the Rams. I've said it for weeks. They're going to win at least one playoff game. And although McVay against the 49ers has been awful – I would not be surprised if they won that game either.
San Francisco does not want to see the Rams.
Nope.
And to be completely honest, as a Cowboys fan, I'll be completely honest, I truly don't think we can beat the 49ers, because I don't think the players in the freaking locker room believe deep down that they can win. Do they have confidence they can win a game because they have confidence as professional athletes? Yes. But if they play the 49ers and one little thing goes wrong, that's it. Game's over. Even if it's in the first quarter, it's over. So to be completely honest, if Dallas and 49ers win their home games and that's the NFC Championship game, I would not. I can't. I have no reason to believe Dallas would win that game. So in the perfect scenario for the Cowboys, they don't have to play him. And if the Rams win and the Rams win again, we ain't got to play the Niners.
That's 100% true. So let's segue to the last game of the day, which we have the Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. Your Dallas Cowboys. So Cowboys 7.5-point favorites, total at 50.5. Packers get into the playoffs with a victory over the Bears last week. Jordan Love really kind of came into his own the second half of the season. Finished the year with 4,200 passing yards and 32 touchdowns. With a bunch of guys out, we talked about it earlier in the year, rookies, late round draft picks, Wicks, Musgrove, Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo, where art thou, Romeo? Romeo, where art
really
thou?
Not a bunch of not household names that Jordan Love really put on his back to do
the biggest well-known name that he had, a receiver, has been unavailable for about 50% of the games.
Christian Watson.
Yeah.
And who knows if he's going to play this week. And given the fact that he's had hamstring injuries for like 3 years in a row, even if he does play, are the Packers fans or even Packers players convinced he would last the entire game? He's had hamstring issues for like 3 years straight. So I don't think you can confidently say he will play on Sunday and he will play the entire game.
Right.
Agree. So let's go to you, Ben. You're the Cowboys guy. Give us some insight on what we're going to see on Sunday.
The one thing, although out of the Miami and Buffalo, I did expect us to go 1-1. I couldn't have told you which one I thought they were going to win, but I was hoping for and kind of expecting out of those 2 road games, they would win one of them. No, they came really close against Miami and some penalties, whatever. But that said, I've kind of paid attention to how I would say the leaders, or at least what appears to be the leaders, Dak, say what you want about his physical traits and whatever. But as far as leadership goes, I don't think there's really a better leader at the QB position, just talking leadership skills. So him as a leader and Micah Parsons as Micah Parsons, the best player on our team, regardless of position, the best player, which is why the 49ers is a horrible matchup because they take advantage of him and minimize him. So Parsons can't really have much of an impact. And when your best player on your team doesn't have as big of an impact as he needs to, probably going to lose. But we're getting ahead of ourselves there. But Parsons and Dak, how they have talked throughout the year in the media and during the week after games, Dak, like I think in November, somebody was like it probably was against maybe like the Thanksgiving game or one of the teams that they just annihilated. Some reporter was trying to give him credit and Dak was like, we haven't done shit. Like, this isn't anything. This is the regular season. We haven't done anything. And to listen to him say that and other quotes over time, like even this week, they were like, hey, Dak, do you feel that you proved people wrong, because of your interception issues this year, now leading the league in TDs? I forget what his answer was, but he basically was like, I don't care. What does that even mean? It's the regular season, and we're talking about the regular season, comparing my regular season this year, my regular season last year. What the hell does it matter? That's not how I'm going to be judged. That's not how this team's going to be judged. It's not how McCarthy's going to be judged. So they didn't talk like that last year. They didn't have that edge. They didn't have that like F the world kind of. It seems like they have they know people. There's millions of people that want to see them fail, and millions of people who are extremely happy when they do fail, and millions of people who root for them. And it seems like in the past, they let the people who were rooting against them or celebrating when they lost impact them mentally. Kind of seems like that's not the case anymore. I've seen a shift in their mentality. And I think that McCarthy has only played Green Bay once thus far. Granted, that was with Rodgers, but obviously they lost that game last year. So I don't think he wants to go 0-2. Well, I know he doesn't want to go 0-2 against his former team, and he will be fired if they lose this game.
Wow.
And should be, to be completely honest. Will be and should be if they lose this game.
I didn't realize
you have Dallas winning.
The attitude.
I do have Dallas winning, yes. But but I pay just the same as you guys pay attention to, I'm sure, a lot of interviews and a lot of media things with Eagles players. I kind of do the same thing. The Cowboys, just like any fan does. And the way that Micah and the way that Dak has been talking this year is like there's no comparison to what, how Micah still pisses me off sometimes, especially after the Niners blowout, which granted was a long, long time ago. And he's kind of shifted and matured, I guess you could say. But after the Niners game, he was like, when Kittle did the F Dallas shirt, the podcast, like on Micah's own podcast, like on Tuesday, it was like, oh, well, it's personal now. They ended your season 2 years in a row. Why is it personal now? Should have been personal before that game. Why is it personal now? So that I can criticize him for, and he rightfully did get criticized for. But even as time has gone on, probably someone has kind of probably went to him and be like, hey, don't say everything you feel. You have a podcast, you have a medium, but, tone it down a little bit. So he's even the way he talks now is different. And I think that they know how important it is to at least win this game. And then, frankly, they need to go to the NFC Championship game, or McCarthy's probably gone, and he should be. Because you should not lose to – you should literally – Stephen A. Smith said it. Actually, I was just listening to First Take. I tape it every day. Sometimes I watch it. Sometimes I don't. But he was just like, if they lose to anyone besides San Francisco, he should be fired. Yeah. And it's true. Like, roster-wise, everybody besides San Francisco, Dallas's roster is better.
Right. And they would end up playing every other team at home, where they're a much different team than on the road.
Right. Correct. Yes.
Go ahead, Al.
So going into that, I was just going to say Dallas. I mean, Ben, you know this. Dallas Cowboys fans know this. 8-0 at home, 21.5 scoring differential. They're outscoring their opponents 299 to 127 at home. They put up almost 38 points per game at home. They've scored 33 touchdowns at home. This includes wins against Detroit, Philly, and the Rams. So they do have 3 wins against playoff teams this season at home. Dude, CeeDee Lamb's numbers at home are good enough to be like the number 1 or 2 receiver on another team.
I'm telling you, I posted it. I know you saw it, Al, but the CeeDee Lamb, his numbers this year and how great he has turned into, I didn't think he had this in him. Yeah. I didn't think he would be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. There's really no argument. Like, I think for me, just off the top of my head, without doing a ton of analysis, I'd have Jefferson, Chase, and Tyreek. I don't know if you could put anyone else above him. Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, and then there's St. Brown and Lamb is like almost the same. AJ Brown, those 3, it's like take your preference. Those 3 are all equally phenomenal. But like you got to have him top 6. Who else you got him over that? And I didn't think, and I think most Cowboys fans didn't think he could be this good.
He was unbelievable all year.
Yeah, he's incredible. And I see no reason why Dallas isn't going to blow out Green Bay. Green Bay's a nice little story. It looks like they might have found their next quarterback in Jordan Love, but they're not going to be able to keep up with Dallas.
If Dallas gets a double-digit lead early, it's going to be. But if it's a single possession game in the fourth quarter, that's a totally different animal. That's a totally different animal because all the pressure would be on Dallas at that point. Yeah, Dallas does not want the game to be within 7 points in the fourth quarter because that's when you tighten up. That's when the expectations, oh, crap, we might lose to this team. What happens if we lose to this team? Like, no, they got to get a 10 to 14-point lead early, and then they'll win by at least 14 points.
Not so fast. Listen, Dallas, I have here their home point totals 30, 38, 43, 49, 45, 41, 33, and then 20 against Detroit. However, I do think the Packers sneakily match up kind of well with them. The Packers are 5th in adjusted sack rate as far as protecting Jordan Love. They do a very, very good job of protecting him. And Aaron Jones was hurt all year, but finally looked healthy last week.
Yeah, he got like over 100 yards, I think, like 2 out of the last 3 games.
And he had over 20 carries, so he's finally back after that hamstring injury.
That bell cow.
They've been pretty good against the pass defensively outside of a game or two. So can Dallas establish the run? Tony Pollard has been decent all year, but I think a little bit of a disappointment compared to what they thought going into the year.
When you mentioned Latavius Murray and Fournette for the Bills, I was like, oh my God, if we just had either one of those.
Right.
Like Murray or Fournette, like either one, like I really wouldn't care. Like we need a bruiser. We don't have a bruiser. I wanted them to sign Fournette in July, in August, in September. I was like, sign Fournette, just do it. Clearly they didn't. Sorry, I interrupted you again, but I was gonna say something as far as you were talking either Aaron Jones or I saw some Packers fans, which I keep receipts, let's say whatever, that said Jair is going to lock up CD.
I don't know about
that. I don't think that's going to happen, nor do I think Green Bay is going to have him shadow him the entire game. But if he does and Lamb goes off, you better believe I'm going to be like, what was that? Jair is going to what?
Keep the receipts. Keep the receipts.
He loves to talk, Jair. But listen, here's my other thought on
this. But Adam, are you picking Green Bay?
Let me finish it and I'll get you where I'm at. We have another team in this city, in Philadelphia, the Sixers, that we compare to the Cowboys a lot because of their regular season success and a lack of playoff success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Dallas is going to have to battle a little bit is, you mentioned the great start. If they don't get off to a great start, are those demons going to creep in the head? If Dak throws an interception on the first 2 drives, is the crowd going to go hush and say, are we going to do this again? I've got Dallas winning the game. I've got the final 30-23, but I would not be surprised if Green Bay took a lead into halftime.
Yeah,
And
I would
I think
agree.
Dallas
I
has
would
too
agree.
many-
I would agree with that because when you first started to talk, I'm like, if Green Bay is up in the first quarter or even the second quarter, I'm not nervous yet. But if it's the fourth quarter and they're up,
Right.
there's a whole nother animal. But I would expect Green Bay to play well in the beginning. So I agree with what you just said as far as they could be in the lead early.
I think Dallas has too many horses at the end of the day for Green Bay, but like I said, I do think, again, we know what pressure does to people. And listen, again, from a crowd standpoint, the crowd's going to be fired up, but it only takes 10-0 Green Bay to that all that energy becomes nervous energy. And we live it out. We've done it with the Sixers
all the time.
all the time.
Which I would say, honestly, to that point, possibly, even though Green Bay is significantly better than Washington by every measure, maybe that experience helps them because it was early and Washington sucks, but Dak threw an interception.
Right.
Washington had the lead, and Dallas, as we talked about, has choked away games for the last 30 years almost that they should win. And here they are down on the road 10-7, and then it was 38-10.
Right.
So maybe that little thing gives them a little bit of confidence, like, hey, if it doesn't go right in the beginning, we're going to be fine.
We used to be all right. No, listen, Dallas is a really good football team. I'd love to sit here and say that we'll be rooting for them this weekend, Ben, but we will not.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, you should not be. But by the way, if the Rams do win,
Yes,
and the Eagles win,
Yes.
that's a matchup.
We will see. Next
Eagles,
week.
Cowboys. If those two things happen, well, 3 things. Dallas got to win, Philly got to win, and the Rams got to win. Those 3 things happen. We got Rams at the Niners, Eagles at Cowboys.
sounds like a money line parlay we just made there, boys.
Yeah, let's make it happen. But Ben, again, I wanted to thank you for coming on. If you want to plug your podcast quickly, by all means, go ahead.
Sure, it was a pleasure. Glad to be on and talk a lot. Real quick, off memory. Al picked the Bucs to win. Adam picked the Eagles to win. Then I picked the Bucs, right? That's what we got?
Yes.
So
Yep.
2-1 in favor of the Bucs. Okay.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure I had that. But yeah, it was a pleasure. Always happy to come on. And, you guys obviously invite will go both ways. Love to have either one of you or both of you on the Death, Taxes, and Sports podcast. You can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, at Ben DTS Podcast. The most recent episode is always the pinned tweet. It's always the first one. For anyone who doesn't know what pinned tweet is, when you go to someone's profile, first one you see. Anyways, most recent episode's always there. We took about 3 or 4 weeks off. We are back tomorrow night, 8:30 live, and we're gonna start taking. Be a little bit more bold in 2024. Take a little bit more chances. Do some things a little bit different. See what works. See what doesn't. But yeah, so pleasure. Glad that we connected. Glad that we met. Glad to be on here. And if it's Eagles Cowboys, I kind of think we got to do this again.
We will talk. We'll talk that out for sure. All right,
All
Ben.
right, Ben.
Enjoy, buddy. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Bye.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, there's the Cowboy guy, Al.
I mean, as far as Cowboys fans go, tolerable is an understatement. I mean, he's level-headed. We don't normally get level-headed Cowboys fans, right?
That's probably what they say about Eagles fans too, to be fair. But listen, we're going to jump into segment 3. We have another guest here. We have Liam on to help us. We don't have Chris. So what we're going to do is we're going to put together our team for the 3K playoff contest. And we needed a third voice. We needed a third guy to help us put it together. So we got Liam here to put together the squad. So again, you, Chris, and I will all have our own separate teams, but we're going to have a group team as well. We're going to give you guys a little taste of the strategy. What do you got going on there, Liam?
Liam,
Jesus.
what are you doing?
I'm moving some stuff for my phone.
It's loud as
held up.
Yeah. You never know what you're getting when you bring Liam
No.
on the air here. But listen, we're going to
This is
put
last
together our
minute.
group team. We're going to give you a little taste of the strategy that may go into it. Again, if you're interested in getting into the pool, it's $25. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram or text if you have our phone numbers as well. So, gents, a quick review of the rules. I'm going to actually share the screen so we can
when you're done sharing the rules, I have a spreadsheet where we can.
Okay, that's what I was going to pull up. I made one, but if you have one, pull it up.
All
So
right.
the rules again, we're going to make a lineup of a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, kicker, defense. We can only use a player from each team once. So I was trying to think of a starting point, boys, of where we need to go. And I think I do have, and I'll give a little inside information. We do have a bunch of people who have paid and joined, but we have about 5 or 6 lineups that are in. And the 5 or 6 lineups are very similar in nature. So I wonder if it's in our best interest to kind of, go against the grain in certain spots. And obviously when you're in a pool and, this pool may end up with 40 or 50 people in it. If you pick the chalk lineup, you're going to need to win on the edges when maybe if you veer, you have a better shot,
I agree with that. That's where my head is at, Adam. But I don't think I have to try too hard to pick some of these guys that not everybody has, because I am completely in the dark with strategy. Who had a good season?
Who had a good season.
I just learned that Kyron Williams had more rush yards per game than Christian McCaffrey about a half an hour ago. So no, but honestly, when you're not a fantasy football player, as I have not been now for about a decade, you don't look at stats and guys the same way. You just don't.
I believe that. And I will say this, after having gotten in a few lineups for this contest, the one mistake I made as the commissioner is we should have gone 2 wide receivers, because it would have made the decisions a lot harder. We'll get into what's going on, but there's a lot of the same 3 wide receivers that are getting selected, but we'll get into that.
I have this correct, right? It's quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, kicker, defense.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I think the first thing is obviously the roster here has 9 guys. We have 14 teams in the playoffs. Can we eliminate a couple teams that we think have no shot of winning this weekend? Because obviously when we build this roster, we want guys who are going to end up playing multiple games. We're locking in this team for the entire playoffs. So I think Pittsburgh, right?
Pittsburgh's done.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is out.
Okay,
Green Bay.
Green Bay's out. I agree.
I'm fine getting rid of Green Bay as well. So those 2 for sure.
Let me do this. Let me run a tally on here as well. So you
Those
guys
are all the
see this?
teams.
Yeah. You guys can see this, right?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So we'll go. Pittsburgh is out. Green Bay is out.
Okay.
All
I
right, who
leave
else?
this with 12 teams and 9 spots.
Okay.
Go
All right.
go ahead, Adam.
Go ahead, Leo.
I eliminated Tampa Bay as well. I don't think it's not necessarily they don't have a chance to win, but no one on their team I would pick.
Here's the thing, though, but you could probably get double-digit fantasy points against the Eagles' defense.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, and maybe this could be a starting point, I don't want to go chalk, but I think we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't take Christian McCaffrey at running back.
Yeah, I had that too.
I feel the same way. I think he's the only surefire that you have to have on the roster, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's other options with, Samuel and Kittle. But at the end of the day, I think everybody's going to have McCaffrey, and he's too good to – you may just be like, there's one way to zig and zag to win, but there's also ways that you zag that you just completely eliminate yourself.
I think of the other teams that have a chance to make a run all the way to the Super Bowl. Also, the running back depth isn't there. So, like, if you take a Gus Edwards, that's a huge drop-off. If you take a Tony Pollard, huge drop-off. Same thing with the James Cook. So you have to take C-Mac, right?
All right, yeah. Let's start with let's anchor the team with Christian McCaffrey.
All right. So San Fran's off the board.
San Fran's off the board. Delete them.
All right.
Who else do we like to go deep into the? We did our first round predictions here. Do we like Dallas?
I think Baltimore though is obvious.
Okay. So see, this is where I'm like, I'm not So really, the only option on Baltimore is if you want to go Lamar. I think.
Yeah, the only one that you could even argue for is Dave Flowers, but I don't think so.
Or likely if you were
Isaiah
reaching for a
Likely?
tight end.
I mean, the Kelsey's the best tight end on this. You could go Laporta,
No,
but
Laporta's out.
Yeah, he's out.
oh, he's hurt.
He got hurt last week.
Okay, so yeah, I think Kelsey's a lock at tight end.
Really?
I'm not there.
He's
Yeah, I'm
been
not
bad
there
this
either.
year, but
Can we again, I don't want to make this team too much like my other team.
Well, here's a question.
Okay.
So wide receiver, we've eliminated Debo and Ayuk. We can't take them. I don't think anybody how far do we think the Eagles are going to go? I don't necessarily want AJ Brown because I don't think he's going to play that many games. So I think
Is he hurt?
Zay Flowers might actually be not a bad pick there.
I just think there's better options.
This is hard.
This is hard. Getting a
Where
little
are we going at the quarterback position?
What about
let's
you
talk
guys-
quarterbacks. So let's just go
Quarterback?
through the teams. Miami, we don't think's getting out of the first round. And if they do, they probably playing a low scoring game. I don't think we go Tua, right?
No, not Tua.
Stafford is an option, but I think he's risky because they can get bounced the first round.
Yeah, he's too risky.
Joe Flacco, you want to get on board with Flacco? You want to ride the Flacco train?
You can't do it because quarterback's going to get you too many points to risk.
Yeah, but we can win it with Flacco. Let's not write it off.
I think you can win it with Stafford, but I think quarterback boils down to who do you think makes the Super Bowl in the AFC, Baltimore or Buffalo?
Yeah. I agree.
What about Dallas?
But then you potentially don't have a Super Bowl. You know, they might lose.
I think CD's year was unreal. He's been killing it. I think you would have to pick him.
I'm okay with throwing
Dallas.
CD. I'm okay with CD.
That's fine. CD is obviously one of the main receivers that have been getting selected. All right, so we're gonna go CD Lamb, which takes Dak off the board, which takes Tony Pollard off the board. Which again, I think you're right, Al. I think it leaves you with a Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes debate. Like, is Patrick Mahomes zagging enough that we think we have the faith in him to come back?
That's the thing. If you pick the quarterback that no one else has, that's
Right,
where you're going
and
to
he
get a lot
does
of
well.
points. What's
I
up?
have no faith in Mahomes in that offense right now. So who do we take from Kansas City? Pacheco? The
Maybe not
defense?
anybody. Maybe the defense.
The defense? But then you potentially are going to Buffalo round 2.
But if you think Mahomes is going to do well, then Kelsey's going to do well.
Valid point.
I don't think Mahomes is going to do well. I'm out on Mahomes.
Yeah, I wasn't going to take him for quarterback. I was between Lamar and Allen, and I thought it was a preference of what team you would thought was going to win get to play the extra game.
All right. Liam, do you like, me and Al both had the Rams over the Lions. Do you like the Rams?
I think Rams over Lions. You had Rams over Lions.
I do.
Yeah, but I'm not. But those games can go either way. So I'm not going to pick my whole team just based on my. Obviously, you need to take your opinions of the games into play, but you can also always be wrong. So I'm not going to I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
No,
it makes perfect sense. You're not taking an 8 seed to make it to the Final Four.
right.
Yeah.
But with that said, at the end of this round, so we have 9 guys on our roster. At the end of this round, there's going to be 8 teams left. So we're going to lose some guys.
Yeah.
In the first round. So like the Rams, of all the games this weekend, I think the Rams and the Lions probably the most likely to be a shootout. So should we have a Ram and a Lion on our roster?
Oh, I guess you do, but it has to be like a tight end, kicker, or defense, right?
St. Brown.
You lose one of those, it's not a big deal. Listen, let me throw this at you. Tight end. How do we feel about David Njoku for tight end?
I don't hate it.
I just don't love Kelsey there, but I don't know what we're going to use.
But if we're, what do you guys think? We're going to talk about a zag. What do you think about Jahmyr Gibbs?
He doesn't get the goal line carries.
Yeah, there's too much of a split just in his own team.
So we got to go Amon-Ra then if we're taking a Lion.
I think so. Yes, I would take Amon-Ra.
All right, let's put it on Ra St. Brown.
But I'm assuming that these two are the two of the three receivers that everyone's taking.
Yes, the other one's Tyreek.
And the other one's Tyreek, yeah.
But I don't want to go Miami, I don't think.
You don't want to take anyone on Miami.
There's like I look at that game, it's going to be played in, what do we say? It's going to be 5 degrees. Kansas City's got a great defense. If I was going anywhere, I might go that Devin Achan.
Well, what about Kyron Williams?
I like Kyron Williams too.
He's had monster. He gets the ball 25 times a game.
But Detroit's run defense is second best run defense in the league. They've been actually awesome.
Can we pencil in Lamar? I feel like we have to pencil in Lamar at quarterback. Who are we going to take?
I hate Lamar. Flacco.
How far do you think the Ravens are going to go, Adam?
I'm not a Lamar guy, but
you could be a Ravens guy though this year, not a Lamar guy.
But okay, you could be a Lamar guy. At most, you're getting 3 games. If you take one of the other guys, you can get 4.
Here's a zag. You take Hurts at quarterback.
Listen, I don't hate it.
If you take Hurts, they win the first game. He's probably going to score at least 1 rushing touchdown, one passing. If they win that first game, that's the minimum. That's the floor.
Who are you guys thinking at tight end? You guys said Njoku. I know he's been really good since Flacco's been back. Who else would you take?
I mean, you have Kelsey and you have
Dalton Kincaid. But that's a waste.
I think it would be Njoku and Kelsey. That's your debate, unless you want to go Isaiah Likely, but I don't know if I want to go there.
Do we want to go Amari Cooper?
Are you guys taking anyone from the Texans, or can we eliminate them? Even if you think they're going to win the game, do you trust any of the players? Nico Collins?
Nico Collins would be the only one, but there's so many receivers.
Yeah, I think we can take. I think we take the Texans out.
Yeah. All right. So then let's say Cleveland. Who do you guys want? Amari?
I'm ready to write in Jalen Hurts as a zag.
Jalen Hurts. Let's do it.
Because look, even if the Eagles win, the Eagles will obviously have to win this week.
Right.
But there's no guarantee. Like Lamar Jackson could get bounced in the conference championship, and that's still 2 games. That's all you're getting out of them.
All right. So we go Hurts.
I like a little zag in Jalen Hurts.
So that means we might. So then listen, we're either taking Zay, Justin Tucker, or I don't mind taking the Baltimore defense now with the way this is panned out.
Baltimore defense has been good all year.
Yeah.
Liam?
You want to take Baltimore D?
Yeah, I think we go Baltimore D. There's nobody else really there.
Yeah,
like if we're going receiver, there's other.
It would be Tucker or defense.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm fine with either one. Like kickers are kickers. I'm fine. I think their defense is elite. It's been the best defense in the league all year.
Yeah, kicking. I saw the kicking scoring is a little bit less than it would be on a normal scoring system too.
Yeah. Baltimore is going to play either Houston, Cleveland, Miami, or Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they would eat Joe Flacco up.
All right, so we're taking Baltimore's defense.
Okay. So that leaves us with, all right, we're going to have a debate here between, again, you have Tyreek Hill, who's out there. He's the obvious pick, but everybody's going those 3 receivers. I almost like zagging. We have Puka. You've got Stephon Diggs. Mike Evans against the Eagles.
You got Cup too.
You got Cup. All right, so let's we got plenty of receiving options. Let's get the other spots filled.
Look at the running backs. You have Cook, Pacheco, Rashad White. What about Rashad White?
I don't hate Rashad White, but I think Kyron. Well,
I was going to say Kyron Williams.
Can we? Let's have the Kelsey versus Njoku conversation. I
just don't like what I've seen from Kelsey, man.
I know, but even Kelsey's like bad games are still like 4 for 50. I think you have to ride the vet here.
Okay. Listen, I'm fine with that. We'll put Kelsey.
And there has not been, again, the inside scoop, there has not been a lot of Kelsey love on the picks so far. All right, so we're down to 3.
Running back, receiver, and kicker. Don't even know if I know who the kicker is for any of these remaining teams. I'm going to be honest with you. Might be Evan. Actually.
Oh, can you put a Coach Evan? Can you get Coach Evan in there? I meant to drop that joke earlier, man.
All
right, running back. We got a Chan. I can never say his name. Kyron Williams, Rashad White, James Cook.
I think Kyron Williams is the obvious pick.
I think so too. Liam, you like that too, right?
Yeah, I like Kyron Williams.
Okay.
And then I think, well, receiver, you can go any way here. Because Diggs hasn't had a really good season.
If we're not taking Tyreek Hill, then cross Miami off because we're not taking their kicker if they're in subdue.
We got to take Tyreek Hill. Like I understand that you'd want to try and zag and zig and whatever, but I think you got to take Tyreek Hill. You're overthinking it by not taking him. I get what you're saying, that we end up the risk of having a duplicate lineup or that it being razor thin because you know what I mean. We have the same 8 guy or 6 guys is there, but
I just wonder if 2 games of Stephon Diggs, potentially 3 games of Stephon Diggs, is better than 1 game of Tyreek Hill.
If you're not taking Stephon Diggs at that third wide receiver spot, which I would take Tyreek Hill, but then if you're not taking Diggs, then you have to take Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with
what's
that.
the point of not
taking a Buffalo guy?
What's the point of taking Jalen Hurts at quarterback to just not take Josh Allen just because you can pick their kicker? If Stephon Diggs had a season like he's normally had, then yeah, you could. But I mean,
he could bounce back here. Like let's not act like Stephon Diggs.
Could. He's like Kelsey. He's very much like Kelsey. He had a horrible year, but those teams are not going to make it far if Stephon Diggs doesn't have big games.
That point has swayed me. I think we should take Diggs then.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Again, I just don't think
you can get 2 games of Diggs, maybe 3. Yeah.
And I think we have to go. I don't want to take Miami's kicker because of the weather situation in Kansas City. There's going to be 50-mile-an-hour winds. Like, forget it.
You can take Cleveland's kicker then, right?
Hopkins.
I think he's hurt. Who's there? Somebody who is the Cleveland Browns kicker? Riley Patterson. We're the Tampa kicker. I think both are you're in the same boat for both. Martin Gramatica?
We got him.
Who's the Tampa kicker?
Is it dude, I honestly I have you can give me multiple choice, I wouldn't get this right.
Tampa Bay kicker is that
I know
Brian
Sanders is Miami.
I was about to say that Aguayo that they got from Florida State.
Is Cairo Santos?
No, it's Chase McLaughlin. I just Googled it.
What the hell is that?
He used to kick for Cleveland.
No chance you didn't make that up.
I'll leave it up to you guys. Honestly, it's a coin flip. I mean, they're both in the same boat. They get both. Who's more likely to win the first game? Let's hold on. I got the tiebreaker. If we're putting our eggs in Jalen Hurts' basket because we need him to win to move on, we should just take the Cleveland kicker.
Yeah,
there you go.
Because if Tampa wins, then if Tampa wins the first game, we're out anyway.
Yes. Good call.
So Chase McLaughlin in at kicker.
How do I don't know. Chase. How do you spell it?
McLaughlin. All right, there you have it. It was a little more complicated than I thought. So it's Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey at running back with Kyron Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, Chase McLaughlin, and the Baltimore defense. That's going to be the 3 in the Keystone lineup. Al, you'll obviously be able to put your own together. Liam, you going to join separately or what?
Yeah, I'm going to have the same lineup, but I'm going to have Josh Allen at quarterback and Tyreek Hill at wide receiver.
Listen, that'll be a battle then. But if you're interested in getting the pool, again, $25, looking to have 40 to 50 teams in it, so it'll be a good payout for whoever ends up winning. And feel free to DM us on Instagram or Twitter if you want to get involved. We're very excited about putting on our first contest, and if it goes well, we'll look to do some other sports.
Yeah, text us, email us, whatever you need to do to get in, because after this exercise, you are definitely getting my money. I have no shot.
All right. Listen, we'll be back next week. We'll be either wrapping up the Eagles season or talking about their road to the Super Bowl. But until then, we're going to drop that beat.